Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Salesforce Ben LinkedIn Live collaboration. I'm thrilled to have everyone here today. We've got a really exciting session lined up for you. So whether you're a seasoned Salesforce user or just diving into the world of events management, we've got you covered. So while we wait for everyone to join, let us know where you're logging in from today. We always love to see what a global audience we have attending. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so thank you to everyone for joining us today. My name is Zaina Dar, and I'm the events content producer at Salesforce Ben, and I'll be your host for this event. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Rebecca Hunter, who is here with us today to take a deep dive into the world of running events using Salesforce. From seamless planning to flawless execution, we'll explore how Salesforce can revolutionize the events management process. Rebecca, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to throw the deck up on screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining. I see a couple comments coming in. Hi, Lani. It looks like you're joining from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm actually in London, but I kind of travel all over. So in just a few weeks, I'll actually be on the East Coast, the US. And so you can kind of catch me in multiple time zones. Like Zaina said, my name is Rebecca Hunter. I'm the VP of Alliances here at Advanced Communities. Maybe we can switch to the next slide, actually. I'll be your LinkedIn Live chairperson today, but I really wanted to be sure to at least acknowledge the other three members of our leadership team as well. We have Stas Danayev, we have Tom Furtney, and we have Paul Jackson, and we are part of a leadership team that oversees a much larger group of individuals. If we can go to the next slide, Yulia. Thank you. Oh, we skipped a slide. Go back one. Just to share a few of our numbers. Looks like we're maybe missing a slide. No worries. Oh, there we go. We oversee a really large, beautiful team. We're a remote-first global team, most importantly. And we've got leadership in the UK, the United States, and also in Ukraine. We have over 50,000 downloads of our apps on the App Exchange, and we've completed over 120 projects with customers like Spotify, the CDC Foundation, the American Association of Cancer Research, BigCommerce, MuleSoft, and many more. We'll actually talk about some of these today.
Okay, great. Thank you. So before we get started, just a bit of housekeeping. As this is a webinar, all lines are muted, but don't worry, we'll be having a Q&A at the end for you to ask Rebecca any burning questions you may have. So feel free to submit the questions in the comments throughout the webinar. The webinar will also be recorded and will be available on our Salesforce Ben LinkedIn and YouTube channel, just in case you need to drop off. If you'd like to share it with your colleagues. Cool. Well, I'll hand it over to you, Rebecca, to take us through the presentation, and I'll see you at the end for the Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you, Zaina. Really appreciate it. All right, let's move on to our next slide. Let's talk about the agenda today. So first, we're going to talk about event management on Salesforce. It's why we're here today. Salesforce, as we know it, is the world's most powerful CRM, and its customer base really spans a broad spectrum. So anything from small businesses to mid-sized companies, all the way up to large enterprises across industries like technology, nonprofit, education, finance, healthcare, and retail. So many of these organizations host events as part of their overall marketing strategy or sales, training, community engagement strategies. So, for example, businesses might organize conferences, trade shows, webinars, product launches, training sessions, or even network events to really connect with their customers or their partners or their employees and other stakeholders. So things like effective event management can really drive lead generation for your organization, as well as brand awareness, customer loyalty, employee engagement, and even things like revenue growth. So using Salesforce to manage events is, to us, a no-brainer. It allows you to keep all of your data in one centralized location. So understanding things like your registrations, your attendance, and your engagement is very simple. After that, we'll move into some real-world examples. So we'll talk through some success stories, including our work with the UNICEF Ukraine and Ukrainian professional development team, as well as Greenpeace, UK and Nordics. And then lastly, we'll walk through a live demo of our event management solution that is built right on the Salesforce platform. And at the end, of course, we'll open up the room for some Q&A. So like Zaina mentioned, please keep your questions going in the chat throughout the presentation, and we will get those answered either in the chat or at the end. So let's hop into it. Next slide, please. So why is Salesforce a great platform for running events? Well, this is just one of many instances we're going to talk about this today, but ultimately Salesforce is this platform, the world's best CRM platform, as they like to say. And running events on Salesforce, because of its sort of comprehensive suite of tools that are tailored for event management, it allows for seamless integration with other Salesforce modules, and it provides this holistic view of attendees, which gives you sort of this idea of personalized engagement. Let's actually hop into the next slide, because I would rather dig in a little bit deeper. So some of the most prevalent challenges facing event management today are pervasive across industries. They can significantly hinder the success of your events if they're left unaddressed. So the first topic I want to talk about is data silos and inconsistencies. So what is silo data, first of all? Silo data refers to a situation where information is segregated and it's inaccessible across different systems or departments. Salesforce can address this issue really by providing that unified platform, or as they like to call it, the Customer 360. And that aggregates data from various sources, but it allows you to access and analyze and essentially use that data across the organization safely and with confidence. And today, of course, data is a household name, but when it's scattered across sort of various platforms and systems, it really loses its power. So in English, all of that means that if your invitation data is in one location and your registration data is in another location and your attendee data isn't syncing in real time as people check in, you're really just looking at a logistical nightmare. So Salesforce can solve for that. Building on that, limited insights and analysis plague many event managers. Without sort of that comprehensive view of attendee data and engagement metrics and event performance, it's really challenging to make informed decisions and drive continuous improvement. Next up, we have manual workflow and duplication. So all too often, event managers come to us and they say, we are so bogged down by these tedious and repetitive tasks like data entry, email communication, agenda planning, session planning. And not only does this consume valuable time and resources, whether you're a small nonprofit or you're a large global enterprise, but it also increases the risk of errors and inconsistency in your data. If you have to put all of the data manually, or input all of that data manually, that easily leads to duplicate records, which in reality means one person with 2 emails could essentially be invited to an event twice, and that looks unprofessional and often impersonal. And that leads us to our next point, communication gaps. So this is another really common pain point. So whether it's between internal teams, external partners, or even your event attendees themselves, ineffective communication can lead to invitations not being received. It can lead to reduced RSVPs, for example, missed notifications, like what if the venue or the time of the event changes? These gaps have to be closed in order to simplify your event management experience and ensure that your registrants stay up to date on the latest news. And that leads us into our last point, which is poor attendee management. So poor attendee management can tarnish even the most meticulously planned event. From registration to check-in to engagement and follow-up, every single interaction with your invitees, your registrants, your attendees shapes their perception of your brand, and it impacts their likelihood of returning in the future. So things like the quality of your initial email invitation to things like the ease and appearance of your event landing page to confirmation communications or QR code check-ins. All of those points are crucial to, one, be easy for your organization to manage and access, and two, ensure a positive experience for all of your attendees. So now that we've identified all of these challenges, you're probably sitting here going, Rebecca, how do we solve for these things? And if that's the question, then let's go ahead and move to the next slide, because we'll explore sort of the next part of this presentation. So picture this, right? You are knee deep in event planning chaos. You've got registrations rolling in. You've got speakers lined up. You've got data flying all over the place. Communication's a mess. And you're keeping track of everything. Feels like herding cats. But with Salesforce, and we like to think with AC, you've got these nifty tools right at your fingertips that streamline the whole process. So first up, data. Instead of playing hide and seek with your information, you've got this one centralized hub where all of your event-related data hangs out. So there's no more hunting through emails or spreadsheets. It's all in one spot. Communication. Because our events are hosted on Experience Cloud, we'll get into this in just a bit, you can use the platform to share tailored messages to each member type. That means you can send one email to a veteran VIP registrant that is different from an email that you would send to a brand new attendee who's never come to one of your events before. So using the power of Salesforce and Experience Cloud particularly, that segmentation allows you to tailor your messaging to the individual, and that makes your communications more personal. It makes them more effective. Experience Cloud is kind of like your secret sauce. It's for delivering content that is just right for each specific attendee. So with Experience Cloud, you can serve up that sort of personalized content that feels really engaging for each person's profile and specific preferences. And all of that is really easy to set up using CRM. It's kind of like giving everyone their own custom-made event experience. And as an event attendee myself, I know that this is the kind of thing that keeps someone hooked and engaged from start to finish. You want to see yourself within the organization, and you want to feel like you are a part of the overall organization. And lastly, and I think probably most importantly, the reporting and analytics of your data allows you to measure your success with an event. So how many of your invitees actually converted to registrants? How many of your registrants attended the event? How many or how engaged were your attendees? So using this data, you can pull reports in Salesforce that actually allow you to tailor your follow-ups, and it allows you to gain insights for events at a future date. So next up in the agenda, we're going to walk through a couple success stories, and then I'm going to walk you through a live demo. So what does all of this messaging look like in real time? So probably one of our proudest stories. Let's take a look at a very special AC event customer, UNICEF and the Ukrainian professional development team. We talk a lot about technology and data and metrics and numbers, but first and foremost, we are human. And we are not immune to what is happening in our world today. About 85% of our team, including our founder and CEO, is Ukrainian. And so when the Russian invasion of Ukraine happened in February of 22, we knew we had to take action and not only ensure that our team members were safe, but we really wanted to pledge our commitment to aiding Ukraine. We've donated over $100,000 to the Come Back Alive Fund. And in this use case, we partnered up with the UNICEF Ukraine and Ukrainian professional development team to build out an events management solution called Spill No Meeting Points. And these events were aimed at creating these nurturing environments where children could escape the stressors of war and they could access child-specific services, including things like humanitarian and medical assistance, psychological support, educational classes. And so we implemented this solution actually pro bono, and we translated the package into Ukrainian to ensure easy usage by the organizers, social workers, parents. And because we're an implementation partner as well as a product partner of Salesforce, we actually were able to build on top of our out-of-the-box app to meet the project-specific requirements. So with that customization, we were able to add the ability to specify the number of children registering, their ages, things like their parents' phone number. And that was all really beneficial to these specific events. If we could move on to the next one, we've got Greenpeace. So this is another of our customers that we've worked with in both the UK and in the Nordics. Historically, Greenpeace had issues sort of coordinating its activities because they are all run by global volunteers. And they struggled with sort of outdated communication tools and the lack of a centralized platform. And so AC actually installed and configured AC events as well as a couple of our other products and helped them to merge 5 regional experience sites into one international space with the ability to sort of switch between country-specific sections. So what that really means is that no matter where a volunteer or an attendee is logging in from, they can see events in their region and in their native language all on one site. And then they can register or sign up for them, and Greenpeace sees all of that data right in Salesforce. Okay, so enough talk. Let's actually see the solution. If I could share my screen here. Bear with me, I'm on a new streaming platform. All right, that should be coming up here just now. Got it. All right, so now you can see the solution. What you're looking at right now is a demo org. This is a fake organization. We made it up, but the idea is maybe you've come to this website. We've called it the Museum of Gardening, sort of a cultural center, historical center, and you're interested in what's going on. If that's the case, we can go to the Events tab here, and we can see a list of upcoming events. Now, the first thing you'll see here on the left is actually filtration. So we're able to search maybe by a keyword or a description of the event name itself. We can also search by a category, like, is it local or in person? Is it a meeting on Zoom or a webinar, for example? Maybe we want to search by a range of dates, start and end date. We also have an integration with Google Maps. So you're able to actually type in a location and see if anything is happening at that specific site. We can also measure things like distance, etc. So sky's the limit here. These are not your only options, but you can really filter by anything that you can report on in Salesforce. At the bottom here, you'll see an events calendar. This is one view that we can surface, but the one that we're looking at today is sort of this tile view. Now, we can easily toggle actually between a tile view and a list view. And we can click into any of these events to see the landing page. So I'll click on the Gardening Family Day here. And this takes us to our landing page. So the first thing we'll see is a description. Now, this is a rich text field, so you can actually change things like colors and fonts and logos. You can add hyperlinks and images. We can see the time and date, the location, and maybe who's in charge of running the event itself. The tabs up at the top here are completely customizable. If you want 100 tabs up here, if you want 5, we can do that. Let's just click into an agenda slide here. So we can see this is a one-day event happening on Sunday, September the 7th. And in our agenda, we've got puppet making and a squat-inspired den building and a tea party. Maybe we're interested in understanding a little bit more about each of these sessions before we register. And if that's the case, we can click into them and see maybe any of the materials needed for this session, who's putting it on, etc. We also have configured a couple of other options just to give you some ideas, get the brain juices flowing, but we can give you a speakers tab so you can open up any of these speakers and see a bio. You can also share this information or view them on social media sites, for example. And in this instance, we've actually shown you that this individual, Marcia, is putting on the tea party session at 1 p.m. We mentioned the Google Maps location. Now it's in 2 spots, and you can also maybe embed a video here maybe that's interesting for you. To register, you can click here. Now, what I didn't say before I joined here is that we are actually logged in here as a community user, but I would like to make it very clear that whether you're a community user, so you're part of a logged in community, or you're a member of the public, we have options for you. So you can still register for events whether you're a member of the public or you're a member of the community. And there's some settings in there as well. So with Experience Cloud, you can actually segment out by member type. So if you are a heavy Experience Cloud user or someone that would be a good candidate for using Experience Cloud extensively, one thing you can do is map out the number of member types that you have and surface a different event package for each member type. For example, a student might see a student rate, a VIP member might see another rate, and you wouldn't want the VIP member to see the student rate or the other way around. So you can actually tailor the same event, but give them a different experience, if that makes sense. So here we're going to choose our package. These are all the packages that are available to me as this user. I'll pick this one for fun. We can see that my name pre-populates because I am logged in, but maybe I want to bring someone else. I can actually do that here. I'll bring my colleague here. I think he's listening in. And we can move forward now. We'll go ahead and ask an event or answer our event questions. So maybe I'm with a specific company. I want to share that information, or maybe this is my first time attending, or it's not. We can get quite complex with these event questions as well. We also have the ability to create vouchers or gift codes. So if that's something that's interesting to your organization, we can give you vouchers. We give you a percentage off, for example. And we can also take credit card information. So we'll go ahead and take the payment. And at the end here, we'll get a success message, not only on screen, but also on our email. So we'll get an email confirmation for this registration. Now, for any in-person event, in your confirmation email, you will receive a QR code. So you can scan that QR code when you come to the event. An event administrator can scan that QR code for you. And maybe you've left your phone at home. Maybe you can't find the email, and that's okay as well. We can actually manually add people to the attendee list. So that's a possibility as well. I wanted to show you one more example. So that was kind of a simple event. We can actually see now that I've already registered for that event. But we have another event here that is a camp. And this one actually spans a number of days. So I wanted to show you that as well. Same story, we've got the description and we've got some tabs. But what we'll notice, particularly under the agenda tab, is that we have multiple days here. So we can toggle between Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And you can see that the activities for each day are different. So in the morning of Monday, we've got a registration and icebreakers. We've got a garden tour and introduction to plants. And you can actually click into these and see who's speaking, who's involved, what kind of things can we expect. And the registration process for that event is the same as well. So you'll receive something like a package request. You can choose the type of the package that applies to you, and then you can go ahead and register. The process is the same as what we just showed. Now, we also have a really unique feature that kind of sets us apart in the ecosystem, and that's the create an event option. So if you see this button here that says create an event, this button only surfaces for those individuals who are part of a community, who your organization, for this example, the Museum of Gardening, wants to give access to. So perhaps the Museum of Gardening has a historical society attached to it, right? Maybe there's a president of that historical society. The Museum of Gardening might say, listen, we don't want to put the president on payroll. It's a volunteer position. We also don't want them seeing the back end of our CRM because there's personal information there that we don't want them privy to. But we do want to give them the capability to create their own events on the front end of Salesforce so that your administration doesn't have to do this task themselves. So if that's the case, you can actually give this person, in this case, I'm logged in as someone named Larry, you can give Larry permission to create his own events on the front end of Salesforce through a wizard. So if we click Create Event, you can choose whether this is an in-person or an online event. You can enter your details. I won't put everything in here, but for example, there's a test. We can do things like decide that this is a free only event, meaning when we publish this, there won't be a dollar value or monetary value attached to the event registration. We can also make we can choose when to send emails. So for example, after registration or maybe when they need an invoice. We can also choose the start and end date. And we can choose our time zone. I'm told here by my team that you can choose any time zone you want unless it's in Antarctica, and then you can't. And according to my team, that is Salesforce restrictions. So no events in Antarctica, otherwise you can have them anywhere you want. Lastly, or next up, I should say, we can move into our logos. So these are our images that make the events really pop. We give you aspect ratios here, and you can just drag and drop some files. Next up, we have location. And because of that Google Maps integration, we can actually just start typing a name, and all of these options will pop up. Next up, we can create a speaker. Maybe this is someone who's already a contact in your org. So we can choose a contact. If not, you can create one. And we can look at tracks as well. And we can choose colors. Of course, all of this is a bit more granular, and I'm skipping over a lot, but I'm hoping everyone's using their imagination. We can also create sessions here. This would be an agenda item. I'm choosing a time that is not the same as my event. I made a very short event. There we go. Next up, we can assemble our tabs. These are either component tabs or text tabs. So when you saw the tab earlier that had a video embedded in it, that would be a component tab, or a text tab would be just a description. And lastly, I think this is probably my favorite feature, is visibility. So you can actually make the event visible to guests. So this means visible to the whole public, or just visible to members of the community, so anyone who's logged in. And then lastly, you can get really granular here and say only for group members. So if that's the case, then we can choose a specific group to surface this event for. And so only members who are part of that group, which could be quite private, can see the event. Lastly, we have the option to go ahead and publish the event or make it inactive. And we actually have some customers that say, instead of publishing the event, can we submit the event for approval by our administration before it's made public on the site? And the answer is yes, we can configure that as well. So at the end here, we'll hit complete. I'm going to make a really ugly event in our demo org. Sorry, AC team, you're going to have to go delete this one for me. We didn't put enough information in here to make this really, really pretty, but the idea is that it is just that simple. You can walk through, assemble all of your information, and then publish the event. And if, for example, you've made a mistake or you found a typo or you want to add something, that's easy as well. You can do that straight from the back end of Salesforce. So that concludes our events demo. I'm going to stop sharing now. We can probably pop up the deck. Oh, you've already done it. Wow, fantastic. At this point, I would love to jump into a Q&A. I'll be very honest, I haven't been looking at the comments. So I'm going to take a look now. And here's Zaina. Thank you so much for moderating. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that really insightful presentation, Rebecca. Hopefully our audience now feels much better equipped to leverage the power of Salesforce for their events management needs. So without further ado, let's open the floor for questions. So if you have any questions for Rebecca, please feel free to submit them in the comments and we'll try to get round to as many as possible.
Sure. So I'm just starting at the top of the comments here. I see a question from Daniel.
Yeah.
Is all of this, sort of the website, calendar, everything that we're showing built in Salesforce? Yes, it's actually built on Experience Cloud. So what you're seeing is just the front end of an Experience Cloud site. And events is one component that we've dropped into this Experience Cloud site. So yes, this is all built on Salesforce, as are all of our apps, and they are built directly on the Salesforce platform. So there's no integration here. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So can this event landing page be embedded into our org's existing website?
Absolutely. There's a number of ways we can do this. I would really encourage you to get in touch with our team. I'd be more than happy to just hop on for 10 minutes with you and show you sort of how that could work. The important thing to remember is that the landing page needs to be a part of an Experience Cloud site, but there's ways that you can surface this if you're not an Experience Cloud user. For example, we've got a couple customers who work in that fashion, so I'd really encourage you to get in touch. I'd be more than happy to chat with you, Amanda.
Cool. Thank you. What do you suggest for check-in and badge printing?
Ooh, this is a good question. So check-in, we have an app that comes as part of our events solution that allows you to check people in using QR codes if this is an in-person event. Like I also said, if for some reason someone doesn't have their QR code, you can simply have the person that's sort of managing that iPad or that iPhone or whatever it is that's using to scan someone in with the app. You can just swipe someone in manually. And what we didn't really talk about was that we also have a Zoom integration. So if this is an online event, like a meeting or a webinar, then that data is automatically updated in Salesforce. So you can see who has come to the Zoom and maybe how long they've stayed or if they've engaged, for example.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. So we've got a triple-barreled question here. What are the credit card processing fees associated with this, and who absorbs that cost, and what security measures are in place around credit card usage? Great question.
Great questions. There are two payment processors that we currently have integrations with. The first is Stripe. The second is Spreedly, which is actually a payment aggregator. So it encompasses about 130 different payment gateways. A lot of people find that whatever payment gateway it is that they're using is often umbrellaed under the Spreedly aggregator. Credit card processing fees would be with Stripe and with Spreedly. We don't take anything off the top here at AC. It would only be the fees associated with Stripe or Spreedly. And the customer for that question would absorb that cost, but it would be part of your license agreement with Stripe or with Spreedly. And what security measures are in place around credit card usage? We do not keep any credit card data on file. When you see anything in a demo, for example, that says, save this card for future use, we tokenize that card data, which means we either jumble the numbers or Generally it's when you see lots of X's and then maybe the last 4 digits, and sometimes those aren't even correct, they're jumbled up. So we tokenize that card detail, nothing is saved in our org, and then all of the security measures are covered by both Salesforce and either Stripe or Spreedly.
Great. Does the product sync with Pardo?
Yes, so Pardot being a Salesforce solution, absolutely. We've got multiple customers using Pardot, and we actually have a Pardot specialist on our team.
Great. Does Advanced Communities handle seating at events?
Oh, Brian, I can see my whole team laughing right now, and they're not even on screen. This is part of our working roadmap. There's currently a way that we can handle seating. So one way that we can do it right now is by maybe choosing a table. So for example, we could say in the event registration, we have 5 tables available. Would you like to purchase a table? And maybe there's 10 seats at each table. You can then say, well, we want this whole table, and here are the 10 people that we want at this table. And then we can assign this person is in seat 1, this person is in seat 2, et cetera, et cetera. What that doesn't do is give you a seat map or a room chart where you can sort of open it up like you were going to the theater and maybe choosing a seat. It doesn't allow for that. However, I hope I'm not saying something I shouldn't say here, but we have been talking about the potential of doing this in the upcoming months and years, building out a seating chart solution. What I do know is that this has historically been a really difficult thing for any Salesforce partner to manage. But let's have that conversation, because I'm curious about where that interest is coming from. This is a hot topic with AC right now.
Yeah, absolutely, great. So what capabilities does Salesforce have for marketing campaigns before and after the event?
Yeah, excellent question. There are a number of things you can do. So the first is, if you've got your constituents or your invitees in Salesforce already, you can pull a report based on their interests. So maybe you've got a really active community of individuals, and you can say, I want to pull a report on everyone who's ever expressed interest in planting. And so if that's the case, then you can pull that report, and then you can actually create a campaign for the event itself. So you can send out these individuals a campaign saying, hey, we've got this upcoming, planting event happening. Here's the date. If you'd like to register, click here. And then that link could take you straight to the landing page for the event, for example. We also have the option to pull reporting during and after the event registration and the event itself. So if you wanted to pull a report and understand who are the people who have registered out of your invite list, and then send them an email that says, hey, we noticed you registered. This is really exciting. Here's some updates to the event. Maybe we've changed the location, or the time has changed. Or if you're interested in learning more about this topic, you can reach out here. And then at the end, you can actually pull reports as well to see who attended and follow up with them, or who didn't attend and follow up with them. So lots of points at which you can engage marketing campaigns.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. So can I track who registered versus who actually attended an online event?
Yes, absolutely. So that would be something called an event participation status. So at this point, you could actually log into the event in Salesforce in the back end, open up an event, and then see everyone who has been invited, who's registered, who's attended, and who's declined that event.
Mm-hmm. Fab. Do you have any recommendations for plugins for on-site badge printing?
Ooh, good question. I get this question a lot, actually, and my standard answer has always been Salesforce offers badge printing, but unfortunately, I'm not technical enough to know the answer to this. I don't know if any technical folks are on from AC who can maybe answer that question.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so Daniel is asking, is it a managed package, or is it possible to enhance where necessary?
Both. So we are a managed package, but yes, you can actually build on top of the app, and we often do. Actually, the use case for the Greenpeace and UNICEF use case stories had customizations built on top of the out-of-the-box solution.
Okay, cool. Please leave your questions in the comments, everybody. Just bringing out some questions from YouTube now. Does Salesforce allow sharing different events to different audiences?
Yes, this would go along with the Experience Cloud segmentation. So the idea is that if you've got different audiences, you can actually create those audiences or those groups of individuals in Experience Cloud and then target them specifically. That means that in the case of our gardening museum demonstration, if we've got children's activities, we don't necessarily want to share those with an older demographic. So in that case, of course, we're not targeting children here, we're targeting their parents, but the parents would be able to see activities available for children based on their membership type. So maybe they would have a family membership where it was clear that their interest was in child-focused activities. And then maybe you would have sort of a standard membership as well, where you were able to share events that were specific to that demographic. And so the answer is yes.
Nice. Okay. Can I register a group of people for an event?
Yes. So when we walked through the registration and we have the option to purchase for someone else, you can continue to click on that purchase for someone else button, and you can register as many people as the organization has deemed you're allowed to register. So that's up to you. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what streaming platform integration does it have?
At the moment, we've got Zoom. We're also working on the ability to use any streaming service URL, and so we'll track the click of that link. It doesn't give you the same sort of data that a Zoom integration, for example, would give you. It doesn't tell you all of the things, but it does allow you to see who has attended the event.
Okay, fab. So how does Salesforce streamline event planning processes compared to traditional methods?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say maybe a good traditional, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name, but anyway, I'm sure a lot of you know sort of standard, maybe free or low cost event management solutions. And the difference is when you use something like that, if you're trying to get the data into Salesforce, often that integration becomes quite clunky and often quite expensive. And so we offer a solution that is built directly on the Salesforce platform, where you can merge that data directly into Salesforce without having to do something like an integration where you might lose data or your data gets siloed, or you have things like duplicates, etc.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are the advantages of using Salesforce for both small scale and large scale events?
I would say it's huge. It's the ability to have all of your data in one place. You're not having to flip between different event management solutions and also your CRM. And oftentimes when we see individuals or customers coming to us and saying, listen, we're interested in your event package, we often see that they have multiple point solutions. It's not just event management. So they might have a solution that takes care of their marketing that's off platform, another solution that takes care of their events that's off platform, another one that's managing membership, another one that's managing, I don't know, something else. So I would say having all of your information on Salesforce or hosting your events on Salesforce allows you to have all of your event data in one place. It lets you pull from your current constituent list that's already living as contacts or opportunities or leads in CRM. It's also giving you the ability to add people to your CRM as contacts or opportunities or leads, etc., in order to target them for specific events and allow them to register.
Great. So Susan is asking, can I have a contact for Salesforce Tech about badge printing?
Sure. I don't know who that is. Tom from, I don't know if Stas is on the call. This might actually, Susan, I might have to follow up with you after this webinar because I don't have anybody in mind at the moment, but I'd be more than happy to connect you with somebody. I can search my network and find you the right individual.
Great. And there is a playbook that I've just shared in the chat. Please feel free to access that and find out more about this topic. So how customizable is Salesforce for tailoring event management workflows to specific organizational needs?
Sorry, where is that question? I just wanted to reread it.
That's on YouTube. I can read it again.
Oh, yeah.
How customizable is Salesforce for tailoring event management workflows to specific organizational needs?
I'm a bit confused by the question, but I'm going to try to summarize it. I think what we're asking here is how customizable is the maybe registration workflow within Salesforce? And I would say anything is possible. We have an out-of-the-box flow that allows people to register, but we have many customers who ask us about maybe custom configuring that flow. It's a fairly common question. So you can actually configure not only object data in Salesforce, but also the flow itself to be custom for your own organization. So I would say incredibly flexible and customizable. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Let's see. What are some best practices for leveraging Salesforce to maximize event attendance and engagement?
I would say in this case, a really strong marketing tool or a really strong marketing team utilizing campaigns like we were talking about earlier would be really important here. And I would also say from an engagement standpoint that Experience Cloud is really beneficial. I know we've talked a lot about that today. The idea is that when all of your members or your constituents are part of one community, they're able to collaborate much easier. They can message each other using standard Salesforce features like chatter. And they're also able to communicate with each other via groups that can be connected to an event, for example. We've got that gardening camp in the demo. You could create a gardening camp group that would be the same. It would match the event, essentially. So the parents sending their kiddos to this camp could all communicate together and have a group that resembles something like a Facebook group where they can communicate back and forth with one another and really increase the engagement. And those are all things that you can see in the back end of Salesforce. So as an organization, you can monitor the engagement of your community members.
Fab, okay. What insights and analytics does Salesforce provide for post-event evaluation and improvement?
Post-event evaluation. I would say from an events management standpoint, from an app standpoint, we offer you the analytics to understand the percentage, for example, of how many people you invited versus the number of people who actually attended the event. And so you could use that data to hone in sort of on your next event planning mission. So I guess the idea here would be to understand where you might have missed. Maybe there was, maybe you can correlate that people didn't attend because Taylor Swift was also playing on the same day, and you can correlate that information and see the connection there. So maybe that, I hope that answers your question. It's all in reporting, I think, all in reporting and data.
Yeah, nice. Okay, how can Salesforce assist in tracking and managing attendee data for targeted follow-ups and marketing efforts?
This is standard Salesforce reporting. It's what we've kind of been talking about this whole time. It's this idea that on the back end of Salesforce, you can pull reports based on your attendee status. So you can see a full list of who's attended, who's registered, etc. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up pretty soon. But final question I can see here is, are there any success stories or case studies showcasing the effectiveness of using Salesforce for event management?
Absolutely. I'm not sure. I can see that some of our marketing team members are on the call, so perhaps in a follow-up, we can share some stats around some of the customer success stories we've had. We have really good data actually on that UNICEF use case that we walked through earlier. We can actually share the number of events that were created, the number of people who registered, who attended. We can see the timeline of how frequently they were holding events, et cetera. I think at some point they were holding up to 40 events per day. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to share those stats in follow-up.
Fab. Would you be able to just talk about the ebook really quickly?
Sure. Can we? I actually, if I'm honest, I didn't actually have much to do with this ebook. It was our incredible marketing team, and we have Claire and also Yulia in the chat. Maybe Anna's here as well. I don't know if one of you could chime in and maybe answer that question. Either way, I'm not sure what the question is about the ebook, but you can grab the link. It's just toward the end of the comments, so you can just grab that link and go check it out. And if you have any questions, you feel free to reach out to us.
All right, fab. Okay, well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. So thank you so much to everyone for attending. We hope you found today's session useful and you now feel much more confident using Salesforce for your events management needs. I'd like to extend a massive thank you to Rebecca for sharing her insights with us today. Before we sign off, any final words, Rebecca?
No, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate your time, and please do reach out if you have any questions. We're always happy to meet with you. We've got a wonderful team all across the globe. So if you have any questions, reach out to us and we'll be sure to schedule some time with you.
Yeah, so don't hesitate to reach out to Rebecca if you have any further questions or need additional support. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone for attending, and we hope to see you again for our next webinar soon.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Take care.